either language takes a different approach. And if you're only used to React, in example, this is a language I use a lot, then you sort of think that everything you write is a component.
Yeah.
But for a different language, or maybe a backend language, or maybe Python, you don't really have components. So if you're used to React and you're thinking components, then it's really hard to change your mindset into thinking into functions or thinking into objects.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I mean, they're all tools, right? Either a language or a certain way of doing it. It's all a tool. And probably in a boot camp, they show you the box of tools. Maybe not even necessarily how to use it or how to use it in a certain way.
Yeah, definitely.
But you can always use it in different ways. And I like that you mentioned trying to step out of what you already know in exploring a new language, because the way you use it might be completely different than the one you're used to. And then you can also just pick one of the tools that's most apt for the job instead of using a hammer for every job, basically.
Yeah, it's also really confronting. So I mean, if I tried out some Python, I tried out some Java, but if you ask me today to maybe run a JavaScript or get some Kotlin, then probably have no idea how to do it. So it also helps change your mindset a bit. Like you think you're really good at something, and then you try it slightly different with maybe a different tool, and then suddenly you feel like you don't really know what you're doing. A friend of mine recently told me a funny comparison. So he's a hockey player.
Yeah.
And he told me basically all hockey players have different hockey sticks.
Okay.
So I played soccer when I was younger.
Yeah.
But apparently, like, there are way different hockey sticks, and every player has their own preference. Some hold their stick really low, some hold them really low.
Okay.
And if you would look at like the Dutch team for hockey, they all have different sticks and they all hold them slightly different.
Okay.
So it also shows that no matter what profession you're doing, you still need to have some diversification. You need to have some different tools or methods, and then you can still be good in what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it could be different than the person sitting next to you.
Yeah, I never knew that. I like the hockey analogy in that, I mean, you can have a tool, but the way you use it is how you are most effective, basically. Yeah. And it can be a personal trait.
Yeah, and if you go back to sports, if you look at Federer, he's like 40-something now, and he's still one of the better tennis players. Yeah. But if you look at his styles over the years, I think he has a career of like 20 years or maybe more. He actually changed it. So first, I think now his backhand is really good, but first his forehand was really good. So you keep changing over time. Yeah. Because also his body changes, his mindset changes. And for a developer and engineer, it could be the same. Like you get older, you get more knowledge about different frameworks. Yeah. And in the end, you need to make sure that you use the knowledge you already have to apply to newer things in order to stay a bit relevant. And once saw a diagram about developers being most productive, and I think it went up like this. And then somewhere around 35, 40, it actually went down. Okay. Because people either got too much experience to learn new tools. Also, their private lives changed. Like in the beginning, you have all this time, but then maybe you get children or you buy a house or you get different hobbies.
More commitments.
More commitments. And then also with experience comes more responsibility. Yeah. So I think it also changes for you as an engineer. Like the older you get, the more you sort of shift away from really coding and also more trying into architecture or maybe management or all these sort of things surrounding your job. Yeah.
I mean, that gets into kind of the name or the verb developer or programmer or engineer, whatever, that it's evolving so much more than just sitting behind a keyboard and just bumping out a bunch of code, basically. Yeah. I think most of the time engineers are not really coding. They're either researching, learning, knowledge sharing, or just figuring out which option is the best one to take. And then doing the actual work is actually not that much in compared to all the preparation to do the right thing, basically. And I think, I don't know how it was previously, but I think it was just more coding in general.
Well, it's different. I think if you, like the way people look at the words developer and engineer, I think developer, at least, not that I agree or disagree, but I think a developer is someone that creates something. Yeah. And I think an engineer is something that creates something foundational. So